Hello, everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Down Hell podcast. And we are reconvening the movie club for this month, and we're going to be talking about 2009's Mr. Nobody from writer director Jaco Van Dormael and starring Jared Leto, everybody's favorite box office poison. And we got Griff, we got Kevin, we got Jim, and we got Joe. And we'll do our little thing where we usually do is go around the horn and give our general thoughts. But let me give you a synopsis, which will probably not help in the slightest. A boy stands on a station platform as a train is about to leave. Should he go with his mother or stay with his father? Infinite possibilities arise from this decision. As long as he doesn't choose, anything is possible. Well, look at that. I was only joking that it wouldn't help, but yes, this actually did not help at all to explain what the hell this movie is about. So let's go around the horn, though, and give our general thoughts. But as always, make sure to answer, is this your first time watching? How many times have you seen this if it's not? But Griff, let's get started with you. What are your general thoughts on the film?
It was my first time seeing it. I was actually looking forward to it. I liked the story, but at the end of the day, I wasn't a big fan of it. I thought it was disjointed at times. I thought it jumped around a lot. And it just Jared Leto didn't help the movie out. Even Diane Kruger, who's one of my favorite actresses, I didn't even think she could save the movie.
Well, there you go. That's one down. How about you, Kevin?
So yeah, my first time seeing the movie, I'm gonna slightly agree with Griff. The movie did seem kind of disjointed to me. I actually ended up enjoying it though. I want to say it was in spite of Jared Leto. I'm not the biggest Jared Leto fan, but I mean I've seen a couple movies with him in it. Uh, this might be my third Jared Leto movie. Um, I know I've seen American Psycho. He was in the Suicide Squad movie,
Sorry,
and
Kevin, he was in Suicide Squad, not the
oh, you're
Suicide
right.
Squad.
You're right.
Yeah.
So I've seen
Let's be
that.
very clear because DC was very clear with
Okay,
that
so
for sure.
I've seen Suicide Squad. I've seen
Yeah,
American Psycho. Oh, and I guess he was in Blade Runner 2049 as well. And now this. So this
happy
is my fourth
birthday.
Jared Leto movie I've ever seen. Um, I mean, just with everything that's come out with him, as a person and whatnot, I don't necessarily seek out Jared Leto films these days, but I think this movie actually largely works in spite of that. But like Griff said, it is a little bit disjointed and it's kind of a weird watch. But I ended up enjoying it. I really, in particular, enjoyed the performance of the kid who played the teenage Nemo. I thought he was one of the strongest parts of the film. Um, yeah, I'd be interested to discuss with everyone else, but I came away surprisingly enjoying the movie.
We'll certainly have plenty to say, but Kevin, I'd like to point out before we move on to Jim that when you said Jared Leto is a and I thought you were going to say pervert, and I was 100% going to agree, but you said he was a person, and I guess I can agree on that too, technically. But Jim,
I won't fight you on that.
I have no comments on the previous. I actually have no idea what you guys are talking about. So we'll have to revisit that
teenage
after the
girls,
recording.
teenage girls.
The teenage girls did love 30 Seconds to Mars. That's fun
Yeah, and
anecdote. I
he
went to
took
school with a
advantage of
girl
that,
who
didn't he? Sorry, this
she
is not
didn't.
about Jared Leto. Go ahead, Jim.
It is about Jared. It's totally about Jared Leto. She just wanted to, in her own words, lick his abs one time in her life, and that's all. That's all. No, she didn't want it to go any further than that. Um. Anyway, no shirtless scenes. I think of Jared Leto in this movie, which I mean, it was right there. Um. At this point, was he already like a sex symbol as the frontman of the band at this point in his life?
He had
So
already been
Oh
acting
nine, yeah.
for like 10 years.
He's
at
actually
least.
really old. He's 53 right now.
Because like he was in Fight Club in 1999, so he has been in movies for like 10 years
Oh
up to this
wow.
point.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I've
haven't
seen
seen
Fight
Fight Club.
Club.
When did
He
American
drinks from
Psycho
the
come
same
out then?
fountain use as Keanu Reeves at this point. I'm
Yeah.
convinced.
It's because he's a vampire, Joe. It's Morbin time.
He takes bigger sips than Keanu does.
Speaking of,
But Jim, what are your
uh,
thoughts on the actual film?
speaking of sips from the Fountain of Youth, water was a big theme in the movie, as was obviously time. Um, leaves and birds at different points. Um, as Griff said, I think you were probably talking about the timeline, Griff, but even those thematic elements, I didn't feel like they linked up in a satisfying way. The leaf that showed up sometimes in some timelines and not in other timelines, and then the pigeon superstition at the beginning, I feel like that didn't really pay off at all in the end. Um,
Why was that there?
that's something we should talk about.
It was
My
cute at first,
favorite,
like
I
in
was
the credits.
disappointed. I was aware that this was a really ambitious philosophical film, but kind of disappointed in how it um, came out. I liked the child actors for Nemo. It was cool to see Juno Temple too as a young actress. I thought she was really good. Mm, it got shades of Moonrise Kingdom at a few points. So I'd be interested to hear if Shane has some comparisons to uh, throw out there. But yeah, it's there's a lot of things to talk about, and at the same time, not much at all to talk about. And that's all I'm going to say right now.
Like a French film.
Well, it was Belgian and
No,
Canadian, and
it's a
it
lie.
was a
It's a line
very
from the movie.
international
Mostly French.
coalition.
Pathé played a big role in producing this movie.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
it,
think
it
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 was
was
a
a
little
throwaway
bit.
line in the movie. Yeah,
I think it was a little bit beyond the reach of the director at when it all came together.
Well, when you're watching a movie where one of the streets is called Butterfly Lane because butterfly effect, you're you're in for it. But Joe, what are your general thoughts on the film?
All right, so yeah, let's. This is gonna be a lot to unbag here. Um, so this is my first time even hearing about this movie and finding it really funny that this is a Jared Leto led movie made me think about how Jared Leto's stock really fell after his Oscar, and he just seemed to not really care because up to that point, I knew he was like he wanted to stay away from being a pretty boy actor and he wanted to take on more ambitious roles. And sometimes you get things like American Psycho and Fight Club, Requiem for a Dream. And then you get Chapter 27, which was very cringy. He put on a lot of weight for that movie. Like he will go through dramatic ways to pull it off, but like something after that Oscar and doing the Joker really killed it, you know? To a point where I'm going to be very controversial and say that he is a better singer than he is an actor, and I would be totally fine if he decided to just pursue 30 Seconds to Mars full time. I listen. I had the CD growing up. I sang from Yesterday. I knew the lyrics to that song. Um, I didn't go through a phase, Mom. Um,
No judgment here, Joe. It's a lifestyle. It's a
it's a
lifestyle.
lifestyle. It's not a phase. So as far as the movie goes, there's Jared Leto doing a French Belgian movie that is so clearly inspired by Mobius's art style of Claire Linné, which is this idea of we don't know what we're doing, but we want to create something really over the top and philosophical but we're just going to start with something big and then just kind of go with it and not know what direction it's going to be. Because Mobius was very well known for doing that later on in his career. And you got a lot of great work from Mobius. I mean, he inspired the heavy metal, comic magazine that came to America. So a lot of a lot of the French really aspired to that. And it's no surprise because the designer, production designer, and the director, as I did some research, did draw comics later on, but originally, the production designer was hugely influenced by Mobius. But like everybody's saying, it never stuck to one thing. If the movie would have just stuck to one thing, and I think what it was trying to do, and it's no surprise that they included Bollywood in there because they wanted to do everything in the kitchen sink, is that they wanted to create this idea of, okay, what if we have a world of perfection and, the last person that's going to die just happens to be the most flawed person. Like the whole thing about him not being touched by an angel, symbolizes that he's broken and he's not like other people. So like by having this idea that he remembers all these different timelines and he's remembering all these different things, but it never really sticks to one thing, into a world where everything is perfect, where, no one dies, nobody has to eat, nobody has to have sex, is fascinating for this world.
Ooh.
Exactly. So, like, I see what they're trying to do, but it's a concept. It's a very high concept that's way too high for the time that it came out in 2009. That's all I got to say. I'm going to say it's a 5 out of 10 for me. I was going to be kind and give it a 7 out of 10, but there was a scene in the movie that we'll talk about later that I was like, it is so melodramatic. It puts it at a fine 50-50 for me.
Very interesting because I was the only one who had seen this before. And the most distinct thing I remember from this movie was, wow, it had a lot of stuff in it. And I remember it had a lot of stuff in it. And as Griff and I were watching this last night, it reinforced there was a lot of stuff in this.
Hmm.
And, you know, I'm looking at Jared Leto's filmography actually. So he didn't work for 4 years after this, and it was Dallas Buyers Club, and he won an Oscar. And then he didn't work for 3 more years, and it was Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So, and
I was going to
then,
ask what he got the Oscar for. I didn't know it was for Dallas Buyers Club. I never
Yeah,
saw that.
yeah.
he deserved it.
And let's not forget, along the way, right before went for those more $1 billion, he was me, Mario, in House of Gucci.
Oh yeah, I forgot
Oh,
about that.
That's what I mean,
cat,
man. The stock
cat
really
suit
fell
and
after the Oscars.
bald cap and everything. Jared Leto has had a very interesting career. And what he has up next is he's going to be Skeletor in Masters of the Universe. So there we go. And all I'm going to say is about his last performance, they should have got Keanu Reeves to be Ares in Tron Ares and not Jared Leto because he just kept trying to do a Keanu Reeves ripoff and he failed. Failed. But
So you
anyway,
bring me to what I was going to think. Oh, sorry.
wait a minute. Did you also think that Keanu Reeves should have been in Mr. Nobody instead? Because I would have been down for that too.
At least it would have been consistent.
So
I wasn't necessarily going to say that. I was just going to say if it was anyone else, I think this movie might have been a little bit more elevated for me.
They should have just had Keanu Reeves play himself in all different ages without aging and just have him be himself as a baby, an adult, a teenager, and an old man.
I'm so watching this film, obviously Van Dormel had very ambitious ideas to get across in this film. And I had a lot of questions. One, what happened to his Asian family? Because I feel
I
like
think
halfway
that's
through
where
the
he was shot in the bath. And we don't know what happened to his family.
because like halfway through the movie, it's just like no more Asian family. It's just like because we keep
It,
seeing Elise
Like the
and
kids, you mean, right?
well, it was an interesting choice that like the Asian family one's the one that we just stopped like going back to halfway through the movie. Um,
Yeah,
I think what it is too
that's.
is
I'm
that
glad you
that
brought it up. That was Gene, right? The character's name was Gene.
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like justice for his Asian family. Why British? Why he British? But next up, why did Nemo or Elise not go to therapy? I feel like Elise should have went to therapy. Um, but we did find out that honestly, the cure to all of her ails was to not be with Jared Leto. So maybe he was the cause of all of her mental illness. So there you go.
Or they
The,
never met him, as the timeline indicates. He never met any of them.
Right. It's the butterfly effect, right? So when one action happens, the timeline is shifted, and you're shifting
yes.
between these multiple timelines during the movie.
Trust me,
That
I've seen the Ashton Kutcher butterfly effect movie.
so I have not, but I want to say it's a little bit random, but coincidentally, it's November 2nd as we're recording this right now. And for spooky month in October, before we started this, uh, I finally got myself to play the video game Until Dawn, which
Oh.
also recently had a movie adaptation, which I haven't heard good things about. I'm not going to comment on that, but that's
Would
all. It's
rather
all
watch
about
that movie
the
than this.
yeah. It's all about the butterfly effect.
Yes.
So it's been fresh on my mind, and I had no idea this movie had anything to do with that concept. So that intrigued me a little bit, but that's also where some of my frustrations come in, like what some of you were talking about. But
Like
The
at the end of
greatest
the day,
representation.
well, what even happened here? Nothing happened
right,
here? Is
and
that what this is?
I've got
And
a question for you all. Does anyone understand how the semi immortality thing actually works? I got the impression it had something to do with like cloning or
is that
something like that.
important? I don't think the movie
It's
thought it was
not, but
important. Is it just kind of just like we're in a
anybody
world.
have insight on that?
I
We're in a
thought it was
world where
supposed
people
to
live
be.
forever now.
I thought it was supposed to be important, but I kind of lost what was science fiction written by
Yeah.
the kid and what was supposed to be real life
Okay.
at the
Yeah,
end
that
there.
that was going to be my
It's funny
question
you say
too.
that too, because it reminds me of another movie that plays with that concept in time and reincarnation, like The Fountain. Like you knew that there were moments that connected fiction from reality and this idea of faith and faith and reality. Whereas
Yeah,
in this
but that had Hugh Jackman in it.
movie,
So
already a fail, and Rachel Weisz, so you know,
yes.
Oh, really? Okay.
top notch. But like with this movie, you're right. Like you said it, Jim. It didn't settle on the science fiction. They created the science fiction, but they spent most of its time focused on the love and the love stories. And the
Hmm.
thing about that though is like Shane, as you brought up, Shane, with the Asian family, there's these ideas of like we're going to spend most of our time with Anna because it's so clear that he's mostly fascinated with Anna of representing both
Right.
worlds of having a perfect life, perfect love. Whereas if he would be Elise, he'd be all about the love and the passion, but clearly the damage with her mental illness. And then with the Asian family, it's like she's just rich. He's just well off. He gets the house he wants. It doesn't have a blending of the two, which is probably why it's like, if we need to get rid of one, it's gonna be that one.
I will say with Jean that point did come across kind of strongly, I guess. She was meant to seem like she was the most ignored, I guess.
Probably because she was the most sane one.
She was.
Nemo needs to stop chasing crazy. Um, words of advice for life.
Well, it's his namesake. It's kind of like, seeking 12, 20,000 leagues under the sea and you're just going into the abyss.
I will say, all things considered, though, I really enjoyed Sarah Polly's performance in the movie.
Yes, she was very well committed. You
Yeah.
know, Oscar winner, Sarah Polly,
Really?
because she was the writer director of Women Talking.
Oh, I
So,
didn't see
like,
that. I don't think I heard of that.
it is exactly what you think it is. It's an hour and 45 minutes of mostly women talking. Just so
Well,
happens that they're
she did a good job.
in
So this movie is like the New York Giants, where the actors will go on to do better things.
Wow, Joe. Just
I'm just
wow, no,
stating as it is at this point.
wow. Um, no, I think Sarah Polley was fantastic. Diane Kruger, I think it's Diane Kruger, like she was a good actor too. And even like randomly have like Reese Evans as his father, which was an interesting
Yeah, yeah.
little uh casting there. Natasha Little as
Very
mom.
small role for him in this movie.
Yes. Which
Very impactful too. I loved his, I
Yeah,
loved his
he
performance.
was good though.
you have British actor Daniel May who plays the journalist guy who's talking to old man Joker, and his cackling laugh that he utilizes in Suicide Squad for the Joker laugh, um, which was very noticeable right away. But you know, it's so funny because this film has the same basic structure of storytelling that Amadeus has, where it's just like an old man talking to somebody, except well, I guess you could also say were all the things that Salieri said real or not, but they were at least a lot easier to follow along with. Which this film has so many ideas. Like you have these cutaways with like Dr. Jared Leto story time science and stuff like that. And
Yes, thank you for bringing that
yeah,
in.
it's like this film is very ambitious, and I can appreciate that. And there's moments that stand out. There's moments that are tense. There's moments that are beautiful. But at the end of the day, this movie ends and you're just like, what did we learn?
You
I
know, the
thought it
way
was
you
a
said
good
that too.
ending, all things considered, but I was still left more confused by it than anything.
The way you said that too, Shane, it reminded me of the ending of the Truman Show. It's like, wow, that really happened. What's on the next channel? You know?
Well, what I was going for was the end of Burn After Reading, where it's like, well, Palmer, what did we learn? Not that I know. It's just
We're gonna
like
learn never to do it again.
learn to never do it again. But I guess at the end of the day, it does all come back to that train platform. And I guess Nemo made the real choice, which is don't go with either of them and just run off. Which it's so funny because like Griff and I were watching this with my wife last night. So like Jess is sitting there this whole time and she made so many comments about, but what if he just runs in a third direction? And by the time it gets to the end of the movie, this happens. And I'm like, hey, Jess, you were right. She's like, about what? I'm like, you were saying this all the entire time.
Exactly. Exactly.
She actually
I would have
forgot that she said that multiple times.
I would have loved to see a reaction video of you guys watching the movie because I couldn't see myself, but I think I was just kind of slack-jawed and blank-faced most of the movie, just trying to figure out what the hell was going on.
I
Yeah,
did
me
have to
Um,
pause
too.
it a couple times, I'll admit
it,
that.
It's funny too because the movie tries so hard to be unpredictable and take this stance of like anything can happen in all these different realities, but it's so freaking melodramatic. Like I kid you not, the scene where Anna's being separated from teenager Jared Leto, I don't even remember what his name is, Mr. Noah Nemo Nobody whatever. There's a point where he runs out. I'm like, is he gonna scream Anna? And then like, they fake out, and then eventually he does scream, Anna! And I'm like, well, go figure.
That scene, yeah, that's a good point actually. I don't really even mind melodrama that much in the right context. I feel like the context was wrong for it at times here. Uh
Yeah, like melodrama can be good when it
I
comes
don't
to,
even know how to put it. Yeah.
or just
I
genuine.
did I did wind up and Griff can attest to this. I did wind up making a point that at like towards the very end where the city just starts like breaking all up and I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't Inception come out a year after this?
Yeah, I wondered if Christopher Nolan may have been influenced by that because, those shots were so eerily similar.
I'm just
I
like,
wouldn't deny it. He loves French cinema.
It's just like, but Christopher Nolan couldn't have been accused of stealing more things for Inception, right? He already had Paprika.
But here's the
So
thing, though. The whole idea of Inception is that you're not even really stealing, you're planting ideas that have already existed, and there's no such thing as originality. Everything is being ripped off, you know?
On that note, I would love to go back and talk about Anna
yes.
more.
Yeah.
Uh, but at the end of the movie, I was like, how would 9-year-old Nemo, who may or may not have known these three girls at 9 years old, I was thinking like there were only three girls that he knew, and those were the three girls at 9 years old. Like those were the only three that he was actually aware of. But how would he know enough about the world and about astrophysics and about time to play out all of these scenarios in his head, which then makes me think maybe they are supposed to be real, and that's why we were getting the I never read Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. It's on my reading list. I haven't read it yet. Um,
So
yeah, Kev, go.
I was wondering kind of the same thing. I'm not exactly sure how the movie wanted to have us interpret that, if that makes any sense, because I don't know. I don't know if that was just supposed to be a particular point in his life that he's referring back to, or if the kid was really, um, determining the fate of the universe from that point. Does that make sense? I don't even know how to word it right.
My idea is that it's just an old man who is looking back at his life. He is 117 years old and
Senile.
senile.
Or 18, because the age is also wrong in the beginning of the movie. I don't know if you guys caught that.
He's 30. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta just throw this out there. As anybody who's 34 years old or turns 34, when he's screaming, "I'm 34 years old," do you imagine like the little meme above it that says the face when you turn 34 years old, and then him screaming, "I'm 34 years old"?
Fun fact, I'm turning 34 years old this month that this
I'm gonna
episode
play that scene
releases. So
before we go to see the movie. I'm gonna put that scene up. Be like, "Hey Shane, is this how you woke up?"
Yeah,
it
I
would
think
be the first time
Shane and I are the babies here. We're both 33.
when I distinctly remember a couple years back when Tick Tick Boom came out, literally on my birthday on
A
Netflix.
few years back, Shane. Okay.
It was 3 years ago.
Oh, I was
Four.
thinking of a song. Never mind.
So well, I guess it's 4 years ago now. But Tick Tick Boom started with the song 3090, and he's singing about turning 30. I'm like, this movie came out my 30th birthday. I'm like, I feel personally attacked here. So this was also like, I was born in 1975. I'm 34 years old. It's like,
I was thinking the same
oh,
thing.
okay.
So he would be 34, in 2009. I guess the math did math. Oh.
But he would have been 117 in 2092, but the newspaper says he's turning 118.
Just remember, guys, Grand
But then
Theft
they say 117 in the movie though.
yeah. Just remember, guys, Grand Theft Auto Vice City came out where there's a lot of kids who are now going to college who were born after Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Joe. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. If I had to deal with that idea, everybody else is.
Well, fun fact, kids that were born when this movie came out are now 16.
And they'll never know about it, and that's one thing we can be happy about. At least a future generation will not have to know about this film.
That's very good for them.
This is going to sound very dismissive, but these are honestly my real thoughts about the film. I know this film has a lot to say, and there's a lot of intelligent things this film's trying to say. But after a while, I just didn't care. Like it's one of those moments where it's just like so many random jumping around things are going on that I'm like, like there could be a profound movie here, but it lost my interest too long ago for me to really care by the end how profound it is or isn't by the end. And I think that's not a good thing for a film to be able to do. Like, there's probably a bunch of scenes in this movie that I could throw on randomly and be like, there's something interesting here. But it didn't wasn't interesting enough as a whole to keep me invested for 2 hours and 21 minutes.
I feel
I
very
agree with
similar.
you.
Oh,
No,
go
go
on.
on, Kevin. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna go back to what Jim was saying, and I think it largely what worked about the movie for me um, was the scenes with Nemo and Anna in their childhood. I could
It's
have
like
had
they were
more
meant
of a
to be
movie
together.
focusing on that and maybe tying that plot line in a little bit more than what ended up happening, I guess.
It's kind of like what I was saying before, where it's like
Because
you
that was
start
a
off with
standout for me.
concept.
That whole segment was
Yeah,
a standout for me.
I agree with you, Kevin, because like it takes this concept and it puts so much attention into one area, but that's the problem when you're like free writing it,
Right. Yeah.
focusing on going where it goes, but because there's no tone, there's no revision, no focus. Like I agree with you, Shane. There's a moment in the movie when Elise it gets out of her bed to make the kids happy.
Yes.
That to me was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Because a lot of people that deal with depression have to find motivation to help someone else out in order to get through their own problems. And it was painted so well, and then seeing his reaction, it was actually a more beautiful scene than most people probably would. I felt it was a very beautiful scene because that
She played it
represents what
very
grief
well.
is
Yeah.
That's
like.
very interesting because I had the complete opposite read of that scene because that scene scared me that this woman had to try so hard to show any kind of joy and that her husband did not even realize this is all forced fake joy. Why are you happy? Because she
I
doesn't really
didn't
want to be with you. And I think it's because I have been in a situation with a very depressed person
right.
who put was forcing that joy out. And my immediate reaction was, I don't like this. And it actually got me to the point to realize it's like, if this is what the joy is going to be in this relationship, it needs to end.
And that's the thing though, is like I do genuinely believe Elise real like actually had to force that joy in order to feel joy, right? Because for a lot of people that are so depressed, I mean, I know this is gonna sound really weird, but think of Robin Williams. He
Yeah.
put his all to be a really good person, to be a good humanitarian, but he had a lot of demons. Like there's a great interview with one of the Lawrence brothers talking about what it was like to see him behind the scenes where he's just talking about how effing miserable he was, outside of the cameras and outside, in his personal life. And to me, I guess maybe because I'm also a mental health professional, I work with clients, that's what you notice is like, in order for you to do that, you have to put yourself out there. But it's also something that a lot of people don't, it does put off a lot of people and it does make you feel afraid, because a lot of people don't see that. It does kind of scare me too. And I'm seeing that from another, like, for me in my personal life too, Shane.
Well, I feel like it's scary in the sense that like this is the only joy that you can have. Get it the hell out of this relationship in this situation. And honestly, that was the solution to a lot of this situation was her to not be with him because they shouldn't have been together.
If it makes you
It,
feel any better,
Made
he
sense
also,
when she walked out. Yeah.
if it makes you feel any better, Shane, he
A
didn't
little
live
bit.
that life. He was already living with Anna, or he was living with his Asian family. So, he probably didn't have to
here,
live that
well, I think this film would have benefited from focusing a little bit more and fleshing out more on less. I don't think this film needed that whole storyline with his Asian family, to be frank, because honestly, it was the one that didn't get enough. I think it would have been, I think this film would have been more effective in showing what it was trying to show if it just had the two sides of this coin of Anna and Elise. And I think that would have been enough. And this movie didn't need to be 2 hours and 21 minutes. And it probably would have been a little bit more focused. But I felt like that it was just a bit of a bridge too far.
So I largely agree, and I think this is where it all comes down to the writing because I think they could have maybe included the Asian family a little bit more, but if they just had to change it up a lot more than they did, because a lot of it comes down to the tiny details like that. Like I don't feel like that family was that fleshed out. I feel like the what was Sarah Polly's character's name?
Elise.
Elise. Uh, I feel like she had a good performance, but then something just wasn't clicking right with the way it was written, and that's ultimately how like it, disjointed, like you guys were saying before, like the pieces weren't clicking together right for me. But I enjoyed the pieces by themselves, but I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Something
It
didn't
genuinely feels
jive.
like. Sorry, Kevin. I feel so bad.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm done.
It generally feels like they have they had the script and they're like, they had like a 3 hour movie or something, based on the script that they had, and they're like, ah, crap, we gotta make a 2 hour movie. Something's gotta go.
Honestly,
That's why I
who would
ended
have
up
been
enjoying the
regulating
movie,
this
but
random
I
Belgian
don't know if I
movie?
could recommend it.
This seems like such an odd thing that you have like this humongous star-powered frontman of a famous rock band and also a pretty accomplished actor up to this point in some random 2 hour and 20 minute sci-fi Belgian film. Seems like the most ridiculous thing, but it also seems exactly what Jared Leto would do. And which is why he's in
What
the
would have
movie.
made more,
So,
what would have made more sense if Luc Besson directed it?
oh my, that would have been interesting for sure. I'm not sure I'm on Luc Besson's wavelength at this point in his career. So he was too busy making Valerian at this point, probably trying to piece that together.
Oh, was that him? I didn't see
Oh,
that
wait
one.
a minute. This came out right the same time as Lucy, a little bit before Lucy, then.
This is like 5 years before that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lucy was the movie where she like figured out how to use 100% of her brain, right?
It turned into a
Yeah, she
flash
turned
drive.
into a thumb drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
There, I did get that impression that like there's a lot of pop science here. Like there's a lot of excitement
Yes.
about certain ideas, but maybe there wasn't a very good grasp of those ideas. And I don't want to say like just because it's this many years later that like we're wiser. You know what I mean? We're definitely not. I barely understood the childish definitions of concepts like entropy, for example.
Right.
But there was a moment for popular science that was um, a lot of nonsense.
Are you talking about the documentary parts where it's Jared Leto doing his little presentations? What was with that? Because I wanted to ask you guys about that.
I felt like
Might be
they were
what threw
trying to
me off
find
the
a
most.
fun way to like dump exposition on us as an
Was it
audience.
like was it like his job? Because his dad was a TV presenter. I got the impression that he was following in his dad's footsteps, and that was like his job or something. But it was
What did
never
his mom? What
explained.
did his mom do?
I don't
Leave on
remember.
the train.
Yeah. So he was either a writer, an actor, or a photographer in
We
his kind
well,
of
I know
future.
he wrote as a kid, but I didn't understand what he did in his
Because none
34
of
year
this
old
is
scenes.
real. We can't trust any of the nonsense that this man tells us as an old man.
Or was all
True.
of it real in different timelines?
That's the
Hmm.
impression I got, but I still didn't understand it.
Okay, so that's the. So can we talk about Anna, the different timelines for Anna? That's
Yeah,
for me. That was the most intriguing connection, at least.
I would
Um,
agree. She was a strong point in the movie for me.
yeah, disjointed, yes, and I think that's a problem because some of the like the dramatic scene where she leaves and he's trying to chase her down the street, for example. Um, we as an audience are looking for special meaning in a scene that long where there's so much else to think about in this movie. When we have such a long shot between Elise and uh, Moby, Nemo, and or Anna
Morby.
and Nemo. Yeah,
Did you
I
guys
wanted to
find it
think it
really
was especially meaningful. What do you say, Joe?
when Reese Ifan is screaming Nemo, and I can't help but think of Marlin from Finding Nemo.
Mm.
Yeah, I was thinking of Finding Nemo at a couple points in this
I was
movie for
like, that
sure.
is so inappropriate, but I was like, this just proves just how much my mind is shifting away. Because I agree with you, Shane. The movie has some really great ideas. It really does. But this might give me a lot of crap here, but it kind of made me feel like I was watching Synecdoche, New York again, where it's like I like the ideas in this movie, but I never want to watch this ever
How
again.
dare you besmirch Charlie Kaufman?
Philip Seymour
Yeah.
Hoffman, I love him. R.I.P. But like, I love Kung Fu Panda 2 because he contributed to it. I love you know I don't want to make this about Charlie Kaufman, but that I just wanted to paint that illustration to this film.
So I'll I know Jim, you wanted to actually talk about something
Yeah.
Yeah,
related to
sorry
the
about
film
that.
at this point. Um I do feel like, and it makes sense, those are the elements that stand out the most in this film because they were the moments that stood out the most to Nemo and meant the most to
Right.
him, which is because like he should have been with her the whole time. And maybe he was with her the whole time, or maybe just in one of his many lives he was with her the whole time. And that's part of the movie where I just, if you're just telling me that all of these things could be possible and they were possible and they did happen and all of these are just their own little things, then what was the point? It's like you could have just rolled out like there's a multiverse. Anything could happen. Okay.
Right.
A Spider Verse.
Yeah,
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 that's a problem
that's what
for
I was
me.
thinking too. Right.
So we have a coin which is binary, yes or no. And so the butterfly effect can kind of go from there, right? But then we have three women specifically. But then we have so with Anna, for example, she is she marries another man and has two kids. She marries him, she dies, or was that Elise? I might be confusing. So I agree with you guys. I think it might have been more effective to just stick with one girl, maybe like show them meeting as kids, and then focus on, a myriad different lives that they could have lived together, maybe. Um, yeah, that was a little confusing because like the coin is a very definite one or the other. But then there are three women, but then there are more than just one timeline for each woman. So I was kind of confused by that. But obviously Anna's the one, right?
Right. He definitely
To that, yeah. Sorry.
oh, they definitely tried to make a point that he had a connection with each of them. I definitely felt it the least with Janine, and I guess that was on purpose. But they touched on some serious subjects with each of those relationships. Like with Elise, for example, um, he first gets together with her when he's at that club, right? And I don't know, it seemed kind of implied that a lot of her trauma was coming from the fact that the person that she was interested in seemed to be a lot older than her. They were teenagers in that scene, right? And the guy that she was dancing with looked like he was like 30 years old. So that's it's like a serious subject, but I feel like they didn't touch back on it, and then we're left again feeling disjointed.
I wanted to add to what you were saying, Jim, about, and again, I think this kind of comes back to it on on what you said about the coin being binary. I had this moment where I thought about the scene where the coin fell down the grate. That's technically a third choice, you know,
It's a good
where
point.
maybe you flip the coin and you don't know where the coin goes.
Or not making a choice, right?
Well, because
We're not flipping it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
according to the film, in the end, none of this really happened. These were all scenarios that a 9-year-old was processing through his mind about what would happen if he either went with his mom or went with his dad. And what actually happens is he leaves both of them and takes an unknown future. So, this whole entire movie didn't happen. Like all of these things didn't really happen. These were just a 9-year-old who apparently can process through all possible outcomes in his mind. Good for this 9-year-old. And then it's just like, but I'd much rather take a path unnavigated and that isn't predetermined for me and live my own life. Yet his last words when this old man's dying is Anna, and then it all goes in reverse, and he doesn't die anymore. And
That's how we know she's his favorite.
yes, his rosebud. So there you go. Except they wait until the end to tell us his last words instead of the beginning.
But then how do you
I,
think that ties into the beginning when he's pre-born and all that?
This
you
idea, I
know,
think of like,
That's the part that confused me about that. Although I agree with you, Shane.
I think they were basically saying like him by not being touched by an angel,
Yeah,
he
it's
cannot
like fate.
process things normally, right? But the problem with that though is that I don't know why this bothered me as much, but it's like they showed how like he didn't have a mark, which is kind of like the natural way your lip part, but then like
Oh
everybody
yeah.
just looks normal afterwards. So I was like,
Right.
Once he's
why even
born,
bring it
right?
up? Was it gonna be too
Yeah.
expensive to like mat his top lip or something?
I didn't even think about that.
I would like to take a
That's a
step
good
by
point.
because Griff, I know you've been silent through almost most of this conversation of complete mayhem and nonsense. But Griff, did you have anything you wanted to say or add about the movie?
Well, even though I didn't personally care for it much myself, I'd probably recommend it to those people who not only like science fiction movies, but those who like science fiction movies that that are artsy, much more visual than your usual science fiction movies.
That's fair. He did get lost in a world of Argyle. That was a interesting place. That's the thing, because like there's a lot of interesting things that happen in this movie. A lot of things happen in this movie. I At the end of the day, I just really struggled with what was the point of all this. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
at the end of if the whole point at the end was find your own path, this was the most roundabout way I think I've watched a movie to tell me find your own path.
I think um I think that the pigeon superstition bit at the beginning, I've been thinking about that. To your point, Shane, I think the point is that it's like solipsistic, like the belief that you can only prove um, that things around you exist. I think like you can only prove what you yourself can touch and experience and process, right? But the superstition is the belief that you can actually influence what's happening, even though it's out of your control, I guess. So I guess if I had to settle on a one line, what was the point? I think the message is um like don't think so much. My only problem with that, like, as long as you don't make a choice that, like the Schrodinger's box doesn't open, right? But the there are all these other actual people moving through time. And like they say, like once the smoke leaves the cigarette, it doesn't go back in. And once the ink goes into the paper, you can't bring it back out, right? Like, yeah, once the, what was
Ketchup
it?
and the potatoes.
Applesauce gets stirred up, you can't
Once you
unstir
put
it.
some kind of red sauce in mashed potatoes for some reason and you stir them in, you can't unstir them out.
So yeah, maybe like live your life and don't agonize over every decision because you're not actually in control. I guess that would be the message I take away from this.
I guess he does say as much. There's a line where he says, every choice was the right one, right? Every path was the right path.
He does
I
say
guess
that.
that I do.
Yes.
For a movie
Right.
about don't think it, just live it, this movie thinks and overthinks a lot. Which also the idea of a child learning about their whole life in the womb only to have an angel take the memory away is a reference to the Jewish concept of Layla, the angel of conception, and is also bears a resemblance to the myth of Er as found in Plato's Republic.
Oh, I've read The Republic. I don't remember that at all. But
See, I could have done with an explanation of that in the movie instead of the pigeon scene.
Maybe like they would reference it in the movie in like a subtle way where maybe
Right.
he's like in temple learning about this or something, or he finds out about it
Yeah.
because he likes to read about it. You know what this movie makes me realize? It makes me realize that there are better movies I want to check out and better things I want to check out. You know, because like they reference his name to being Nemo. I know a lot of people think of like Nautilus or 2000 Leagues Under the Sea, but me personally, it makes me think about Winsor McKay's Nemo in Slumberland. He's constantly
In
waking
the
up.
anime Little Nemo that came out,
Uh,
Joe.
because I watched that a lot as a
I mean,
kid.
it's a well animated movie. Don't get me wrong. Miyazaki worked on it, but it was the worst experience of his life. But like the actual original comic, like revolutionized the comic strip art form, where instead of just having like three panels, it like went into these beautiful, well illustrated worlds. And then you come up with this concept of the butterfly effect, which is funny because there are a lot of great movies that take the concept of the butterfly effect and TV shows. You know, I'm looking at The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, perfectly, to me, one of my favorite representations of the butterfly effect. Just seeing Homer mess everything up. Um, but you know, when a movie is making you want to check out something else that's done better, it really didn't do its job. You know, I mean, I don't regret watching it, but from what we've talked about and how much we've been bouncing and talking about ideas, it's like maybe there's other things we can explore that have a little bit more streamlined.
So you're saying there are multiple cinematic paths you could take in life.
Well, I could say it's a Spider Verse, and he chose his own direction with what's that producer and Paul starts with a P, Amy Pascal. He took her direction. I don't know. Trying to make a
Joe, you're gonna
Spider
have to
Verse
wait
joke.
3 more years for us to be able to do Into the Spider-Verse on here.
Don't remind me.
Well,
There
that
you
came
go.
out 2018, really.
Yep.
Huh.
Which I'm looking through all like the themes section of IMDb, I know of Wikipedia, just to see some of the stuff they threw out here because this dabbles in string theory, the butterfly effect, chaos theory. Oh yes. Um,
mm.
Chaos Theory.
which chaos theory is kind of like the butterfly effect
I was
kind of
going to say,
idea
I don't
where
know
it's
enough
just like,
about either except Jurassic Park.
well, he does a very good job of actually explaining chaos theories. If like I could keep dropping a drop from the same place, but will it go down the same exact way every time? No, because chaos. Yeah.
Ah,
Yes.
yeah.
Goldblum. Can you imagine Jeff Goldblum as Mr. Nobody? I would
Well, I am
bet.
imagining it to be a better movie.
And he'd also look amazing at 118
Yeah,
because
even
he looks
Keanu Reeves.
amazing at 70.
He does.
So
Looks like this movie had the same visual effects supervisor as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which to me makes a lot of sense.
that doesn't
Mm.
surprise me at all. Well, that's the thing. This is a very vibrant and interesting looking film. Like, I'll give it a lot of credit for that. It's a
Yeah,
very creative visual experience for sure.
The
And
old age makeup looked good.
it did.
I mean,
the
I'm
old
not gonna
the old
sugarcoat it. I
age
think it looked good.
acting,
The
on
acting,
the other
no,
hand,
but the actual makeup looked really good.
hmm, he actually looked like
Like old Bilbo.
I was about to say he kind of actually looked like what this Demi Moore from The Substance.
Mm,
That's a good comparison. Yeah, he did.
That actually makes me want to watch The Substance again.
Slightly Glenn Close-y in the way that she looks. But does
Wow.
anybody have anything else to say about this film, or are we ready to wrap up this conversation?
I think I
I
got all
do.
my thoughts out.
Yeah, generally same. I do just want to give a lot of praise to the kids that played young Nemo and Anna. They were the standouts for me by far.
Yeah, what a monster of production. A lot of names that we don't know and won't get mentioned.
Hmm.
Worked really hard on a huge project. Um, I learned a few things. I learned a few things about Jared Leto today. I learned about Mobius is not Morbius. I learned
It's Morbin
Nemo in
time.
Slumberland is a thing. And Eternal Sunshine kind of scared me when I saw it. I was fairly young. That's a movie that I should rewatch in the near future.
Somebody can nominate that for sure.
I'm
Yeah,
on it. For a long time. It was in my top 10 favorite movies.
I hated it the first time I watched it because uh similar to her, I hated the idea in it without thinking about what the film had to say about said idea. I just read it for face value because, like, I don't, just to throw this little nugget out there before, well, I'm going to say one more thing about Mr. Nobody, and then I have a little nugget of a question to ask each of you before we wrap up because I thought it'd be interesting. This cost $47 million dollars and made three and a half.
Oof.
So this was quite the similar to now, Jared Leto box office poison. So there you go.
I think it was mostly, like you said, because they put a huge cast in this movie where the budget probably went into the cast. If you cut the actors and kept it to like maybe French actors, you would have made your money back.
No, I think this still would have been 20 something million dollars based off of the production, design, the special
Well,
effects, all of those things.
the space
but
scenes alone, I guess, right? The Mars stuff. That might have been a big chunk of the budget, I imagine. I don't know.
well, you could tell they cut the budget on that when they did the Jared Leto sci-fi moments where he's like, they used those YouTube edits.
Oh, with the bikes in space.
Pheromones, guys,
But
cavemen.
but my little question for all
Oh,
of you
those. Yeah.
that's related to Eternal Sunshine actually is, would you ever consider erasing somebody from your memories who caused you a lot of pain and
Nope.
suffering?
Pain makes you who you are.
The
We
note
need to
from
fall in
Joe.
love with ourselves.
Yeah, I'd say no. You got to remember that stuff.
We
I'm
got
I'm
any
also a
yeses?
no. Yeah, I'm also a no.
In a society that's all about trying to fix things and patch things up, we have to remember that failure is part of the process of growing up. By trying to seek a world where you're trying to make things better by erasing it, you yourself are stunting yourself.
yeah, I
Griff would.
agree.
Well,
Oh,
that's
sorry.
a then that's five right there. That's going to be a no for us, dog. No erasing people from our memories. Paraphrasing the immortal words of Randy Jackson, uh, from American Idol, which was still popular, probably maybe back in 2009. At least
I had
more
a samurai
relevant.
sword signed by him because if you come up to Randy Jackson, you're gonna have something signed by him.
If somebody nominates Step Brothers, this would be so much fun of an episode. But anyway, that's a wrap here on another discussion of another film with the movie club. And because we were recording this after the first of the month, we actually know what we're going to be talking about next month. And next month, the wrap up 2025, we're going to be talking about the Coen brothers screwball comedy Raising Arizona. So I am very excited for that. They're my favorite filmmakers. This is an absolute blast of a movie that I have seen plenty of times already. So I'm looking forward to rewatching it again. But from Griff, from Kevin, from Jim, from Joe, and from Shane, thank you all for always tuning in and supporting the Development Hell podcast.